What is up, everybody? It is Codebreaker146 here yet again with another video, and today I'm going to be reviewing the movie Logan. I don't do a lot of movie reviews. I want to do a lot more, but I only go to see the movies that interest me and that really get me hyped to go to the movie theater, which is not many, but when they come around, I definitely get pumped up for them, and they're normally comic book movies, and those would be, you know, Marvel movies, DC movies, Star Wars, which is coming out later in this year. All that kind of stuff really gets me pumped up and excited, and I was really looking forward to Logan. I just really wanted to see this movie going in. I just thought that this movie had a lot of potential to be great, and boy, was it. It was amazing, to sum it up in the first minute of this video. But if you really want an in-depth review, stick around because I'm going to talk about this movie. I'm going to try to make this under 30 minutes long, but I'm just going to discuss this one and how good of a film this actually was. I'm going to go into the main characters and how I felt about them and how I felt about the plot and how everything was when it comes to a film. And I hope that you guys like this video. If you do and you want to see more videos like this and different non-wrestling topics, please feel free to leave some support with a like button. Or dropping a like on, on that like button, you know what I mean? And then, maybe a comment or two, what you thought about it, and if you saw Logan yourself, what did you think about it, etc, etc. Now, I must forewarn you all, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review. So before you go any further, this is a spoiler-filled, I'm talking about filled to the maximum. This is going to be an overflowing spoiler review. I'm going to spoil the bejesus out of this movie, okay? So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to know for yourself what happens in the theaters, all the twists, turns, and everything, and any little detail that you want to see for yourself, click off this video because I'm probably going to talk about it, and I don't want to have a lawsuit pending on me because you didn't listen to me, okay? All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about Logan. And we can't talk about Logan without James Howlett himself, Hugh Jackman, the man that plays Logan, the Wolverine. Hugh Jackman, man, I'm going to talk about this guy's performance. And if you all didn't know, this is Logan's last outing. This was also, before the movie concluded, this was going to be the last Wolverine movie. This is going to be the last time that we see Hugh Jackman on screen as the Logan Wolverine character. And he's been Wolverine ever since 2000 in the X-Men movie, the first X-Men movie that ever, that really launched a comic book universe, not just the Fox-owned X-Men universe, but this set the stage for the MCU and team-up movies, and then the Batman movies that were already out, but even further down the line, the Batman vs Superman movie. The X-Men really was the beginning. It was the genesis of the comic book genre and film industry. And he played Wolverine from then on there to X2, X-Men United, X-Men The Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine, Yuck, the Wolverine itself. He was also in X-Men Days of Future Past, nice little cameo in X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men First Class. So he's been in almost every X-Men film except Deadpool. So really, this Fox Marvel universe has been built on the back of Hugh Jackman and how much he has given to the character in the past 17 years. And it's crazy, and to finally think that he's gone after this movie is just wild. In this movie, he plays an old, grizzled Wolverine, a man that's really on his last leg, and he's trying to find a reason to live and trying to find some sort of he's looking for something. He's looking for a purpose. And he's really just kind of on the run and doing his own thing. He's making money. He's really hustling for some pills to make sure that Charles stays fine. And he's also taking care of Professor X, Charles Xavier. Caliban is with him. He has enlisted his services. He's living right near the Mexican border. He's living on the Mexican border. And he travels back and forth from Texas and Mexico. And he's on the run as well. He is been searched for by this transigen research group, pretty much. And not only that, but the Reavers. And he has just been hiding out, and he is not happy. He is just a pissed off Wolverine. And one thing that I thought about this movie that really embellished or just made the character even better, and it just added another layer upon this character, was their R rating. Now, and that's in terms of violence and the way the Wolverine and his dialogue is. I mean, you can really tell how pissed off this guy is when he drops 3 F-bombs in the same sentence, you know, at a grave site, or even in the beginning act, or in the first scene when Wolverine wakes up in his own limo, and these cholos, these guys are stealing the rims off his car, and he warns them it's going to get ugly. He gets shot with a shotgun. He eventually heals, and at this point in his life, Wolverine's not necessarily healing because the adamantium that's in his, that's part of his skeleton is poisoning him. So he's not doing too well. And anyways, he heals from that, and he just kills every last one of these guys. There's probably at least like 6 or 7 guys that he killed, and it's just so gruesome and violent, and it's so well done. And it's just beautiful to see the R rating Wolverine, because you can't do you can do a PG-13 Wolverine movie. They've done it before, but it's very difficult to do it successfully and correctly to the point where everybody's gonna love it and love the action. Because Wolverine, the man has 6 knives in his hands. He has 3 claws, 3 on one hand and 3 on the other. 3 plus 3, 6. There you go. I mean, how is that character a PG-13 or a PG character to begin with? He has 6 knives in his hands. His main point of attack is to stab somebody with said hands and with his claws, So that's the thing. Wolverine really brought it. And I mean, the whole movie, they did a great job. And it's basically on the success of Deadpool because of it being an R-rated movie, and it made $700+ million worldwide. And this movie has already made a boatload of money thus far, and it's going to continue, and because it needs to, because this movie is sensational. It's really, really good. And not only that, but just when it comes down to the violence, and if it comes down to the acting and the dialogue that everybody had in this movie, was just beautiful. It was a work of art. Now, on to the next characters. Going into this movie, I was in love with Boyd Holbrook, and I was in love with this man even more. No homo, not at all. Because if you've seen this guy before, I saw him first in Gone Girl, which is a great movie with Ben Affleck and Rosamund Pike in it and stuff like that. So it's awesome. It's awesome. It's a good mystery film. David Fincher directing is beautiful. And I saw him again, and I was so excited to see this guy again in Narcos on Netflix. If the first 2 seasons have been released, he plays Steve Murphy, this DEA agent, and he's amazing in it. He's got like this. He's a hothead, and he's a good character, and he's a great actor. He just does lots of good things on that show, and he really, I mean, that show is just stacked. You have Wagner Moura and Pedro Pascal, and just lots of different guys. And this is just great. And I was happy to find out that he was in a comic book movie, because he doesn't really mess with comic book movies. He said it in interviews himself. And the fact that he was able to be in a comic book movie as a villain is outstanding. The guy, look at this picture right here. He is the leader of the Reavers. He's a badass. He has a hand. He's not necessarily a cyborg, because he's not a cyborg, but he has, cybernetic, I guess you can say. I don't know. He's just his forearm and his hand has been blown off or something like that, or cut off. I'm not sure, but he has that, and that's a cool little feature to his character. He has a gold tooth. He wears these Matt Murdock, John Lennon glasses. He has tattoos on him. He has a gold chain. He's just freaking badass. And there's so many things he does that makes the character badass. Now, I don't think the villain was the best of all time. I don't think that he was the Joker or the Heath Ledger but I thought what he was given to do, I think Boyd Holbrook shined in this movie. He had lots of charm, and when he got especially in the first scene with Logan, when he gets in the limo and he talks to Logan for a little bit and he gives him his card, and especially when he shows up to Logan's hideout place and they're looking for Laura or X-23. And man, that was great. And I think one of the best shots of this movie that I wanted to bring up with Boyd Holbrook in it as Donald Pierce is when Logan and Charles Xavier and Laura are on the other side of the tracks, and then this train comes by that's super long, and then you can see Boyd Holbrook as Donald Pierce. You can just see him looking through the train. Like, you can see him looking through as the train is passing by, and the train is got some wind going on it, so you can see, like, his hair is blowing in the wind, and you can see just the train going by, and it's just an amazing shot. Like, some of the stuff is just breathtaking, especially some of the shots with the sunsets and stuff like that. And honestly, there's a moment in this movie where we see his ruthlessness, Donald Pierce's ruthlessness, excuse me, when he tortures Caliban, and he talks about how, you know, they even go into the X-Men lore of who Caliban is and how he's able to track mutants and stuff like that, and how he wants to, and even his weaknesses, which is the light, and you know, he almost burns his skin, and eventually Caliban, you know, kills himself and commits suicide trying to create a distraction later in the film. And yeah, it's just lots of good stuff that they did with this film. The only thing that I have a big problem with, and this is another spoiler alert, if you stuck around this long, you know, congratulations, you played yourself. But the only thing I did not like about this character is the man's death. Now, it was pretty cool to see the kids get their, like, you know, to give this man his comeuppance, because he kind of created them and, you know, took them away from their own families and made clones of them, which I think is cool with the fact that they killed him. But still, I think it would have been much more satisfying for Wolverine to drive, or even X-23 to drive, like, some blades in this man's skull. I just think that, like, he deserved that kind of death, because he was a very infuriating villain at times, the stuff that he did, and the things that he did to put Wolverine in a bad situation and spot. But he is not the main. To me, I don't think he's the main villain. I think he is just there, and he is playing to higher ups, being Dr. Xander Rice, and also the main physical villain, which would be X-24, aka Wolverine's clone, which sadly is not Daken, who is Wolverine's son in the comic books, who's a villain and has blades in his hands as well, which is very sad that it was not Daken, but still, it was a shocker. But enough about Boyd Holbrook, he's great. Moving on. Okay, when editing this video, I did not see the fact that this image would look really distorted, but it is what it is, you know what I mean? So, let's talk about Laura X-23. Man, this girl, she brought it. She brought it. Normally, when you get kids to act, like in the very beginning Harry Potter films, and other films like that, of that nature, the acting is not superb. It's not that great. And they just don't do the things right because they're young and inexperienced and stuff like that. But this girl right here, she had a presence about her, man. She just had this commanding presence on screen that whenever you saw her, you knew shit was about to go down, and you knew shit was about to get real. She plays X-23, who is the 23rd version of the clone, being in the Weapon X program, which is basically how they create Wolverine. She has 2 claws in her hands, and then so it's basically like she's doing the Rock On symbol with the blades, and she has 1 in her foot. And there's lots of good action sequences with her. She takes down some fools, man. She kills a lot of people in this movie. And she doesn't talk until about the last 30 minutes of the film, and she speaks Spanish and English. So she is bilingual. Sorry for my stuttering. I needed to slow it down for a little bit there, but I'm just so excited talking about this movie. I gotta go see it again. I've only seen it once, and it was outstanding. I gotta go see it again. I'm probably gonna go see it 3 times, more than likely. So, do the math. That's 2 more. Yeah, man, she is absolutely amazing on screen. And is her acting the best of all time? No, but I think she had lots of good and emotional scenes with Logan. And she just did a great job performing. Once again, the violence in this movie is insane. It's not too, you know, it's not like a Quentin Tarantino movie. It's not gratuitous. It's just there because it needs to be. It amplifies the intensity of an action sequence, etc., etc. It's just great. And she did a great job of bringing heart and levity and just like, and not necessarily heart and levity, but like moments when you kind of felt like she's a kid in this world, and you can kind of relate to that even if you're not a kid. Just kind of the feeling that like she's there and she's small, but she can still get, like, it's just so much that she brought to this film. And like, she didn't even say that much. She really didn't until the end. And she just had a great relationship and great chemistry with Hugh Jackman. Great job, Daphne. I don't know her last name, but Daphne. It's a Daphne K or something like that. But she did a great job. And now moving on to the next man. You know who it is. Sir Patrick Stewart. Not Sir Patrick Stewart, just Patrick Stewart. Man, this guy, who has also been the backbone of the comic book genre, the comic book film genre, ever since the first X-Men in 2000. He's been in X-Men 1, X-Men 2, X-Men 3, the Wolverine in the end credit scene, X-Men First Class as James McAvoy played him, so the lore of Professor X has been lingering on. He was in X-Men Days of Future Past, and he was not in X-Men Apocalypse, but man, he has been carrying the role of Charles Xavier, Professor X, for so long. And honestly, when you see the guy like the way he is in this movie, it's heartbreaking. It really, truly is heartbreaking to see Professor X the way he is in this movie, because honestly, you've seen him look so young and so powerful when he's able to use Cerebro and, you know, read minds and tell everybody how it is because he's freaking Patrick Stewart. And to see him this way, having seizures and being barely able to string a sentence together sometimes, or sometimes he would go babble on because his mind is so out of whack, and he even has a brain disease almost, or he has a brain disease because of his powers, because there's this virus that's wiping out the mutant kind. And I stutter there once again, and it's hard to really me to string words together. That's so I just wanted to point that out there if you wanted to roast me. So go ahead. But yeah, like I still can't believe one part in this film that I'm gonna go ahead and talk about right now. That's where Patrick Stewart is at this farmhouse, the Munson's house. He tells Logan that they need to stay the night, that they have a trip to go on, because they're on a road trip. They go to North Dakota and across the Canadian border to take Laura X-23 so she can be reunited with her other mutant friends, and that they can be safe, you know, because in the U.S., you know, we ain't playing around. So they wanted to stay the night. And Logan goes out, and he goes to like this, through this corn syrup field, or this cornfield that makes corn syrup, obviously, and they go to turn on like the water or something like that, and they have this confrontation, obviously. But Patrick Stewart's by himself. He was tucked in bed by Logan, and Laura's in the room. And then Patrick Stewart really softens and has one of the best performances that I've ever seen of him as Professor X. Really showing why he was probably the best character in this film in terms of what what kind of levity he brought, and how he bounced off of Logan's, you know, rigidness and harshness, and how he kind of brought heart to this film. He talks about how this night has been perfect, and how this was the first night in years that's been perfect. It's been truly perfect. And he even opens up how one of his seizures killed all the X-Men, or killed in Westchester, New York, which is where the Professor X and Charles Xavier's mansion's at. In case you didn't know. So he's sitting there, man, and this was probably the most emotionally gripping moment in the movie. Is when all of a sudden he's talking, and then this black shadow just kind of comes into frame, and then the blade of Wolverine's claws seeps through his heart and mortally wounds Charles Xavier. And just the look that he has, knowing that it was Logan, but it wasn't Logan too. That's the thing. It's so effed up, you know. Just the look on his face, like, this is it. And you knew it was it once he got stabbed. Like, and it honestly made my jaw drop and made me sink into the movie theater chair that I was in. I am not joking. I cried. I cried when Professor X died. I didn't really know how to react to it because it was so shocking, and the fact that it was the clone X-24, that's the thing. They could have done Dak, and they could have done even Sabretooth. They could have brought him back as like a nice little surprise. But the fact it was a shocking moment, and it came out of nowhere at the most awful of times when he's about to go to bed and he's talking about the perfect night. So at this time, X-23 is just pissed off beyond belief. and she is stabbing the hell out of X-24. And X-24, she basically gets handcuffed, and then the Munson family gets effed up, dude. They get effed up at this farmhouse scene. Okay, so this guy guts the son. He guts the teenager, and that was just so tragic because and then the wife gets killed, and then when they get back, the man that went out with Logan, the father, the guy that went with Logan to do the cornfield, obviously, and such like that. They came back, and just the whole family is murdered, and then eventually X-24 is impaled onto this on this farm equipment by this truck when he's rammed. And then also it's just a crazy moment to see Logan and X-24 cross and stare at each other, and you can just hear Logan cry out, "Charles! Charles!" And I don't want to scream because it's late at night when I'm recording this video, but just so good. And he loads Charles back into the pickup truck and stuff like that. Oh my god, it's just so emotional. And yeah, they have some great action sequences between X-24 and Logan, and just amazing, absolutely amazing stuff right there. And yeah, Charles Xavier's death, the way it was handled in that whole scene was just, oh my god, it was crazy. I cannot wait to go see it again, because it was so shocking, and it had me, I was speechless. I really was speechless. That's really how it was. And yeah, I mean, just I still can't believe it. And then in the final, and I'm going to talk about the final scene in this next one, and I'm going to give you my final conclusion, my my overall thoughts on this movie coming up next. But I just wanted to talk about how good Patrick Stewart was and everything he brought, even to the most intense and most emotional moment of the movie. So everybody, Logan is in the forest, right? He's in his natural friggin' habitat. Okay, he's with Laura, trying to get her across the border, and here comes the Reavers, and here comes Donald Pierce and Rice. And then X-24. They're all after Logan. Logan takes this thing that makes him more powerful and it makes him heal quicker. Eventually it wears off, but he went ballistic. It was like Wolverine's last freaking stand. Wolverine's last stand, my dude. Wolverine's last stand. I can't make this up, okay? And then eventually it wears off. He shoots Dr. Rice, okay? He kills that man. And then afterwards, him and X-24 go at it, and X-24 overpowered him. And you just knew that it was coming. It was coming. His death was eventually imminent. Eventually, he impaled him on a tree, which was absolutely shocking. And right before he's about to kill him and deliver the final blow, X-23 comes over. Laura, she has the adamantium bullet that Wolverine contemplated killing himself with, and she pops a freaking round that just took his whole skull off almost. It was gruesome, but it was awesome at the same time. And then you see Logan and Laura have one final confrontation. Or one final conversation. Excuse me, I didn't even use the word confrontation. So X-24 died, Donald Pierce obviously died, and Rice died. So all the villains really met their end. But Logan's talking to Laura, and he says, "So this is what it feels like." And he slowly fades away peacefully. I mean, as peacefully as it's going to get when you get impaled by a freaking tree. But peacefully. He remember, Logan has been healing. He's been alive since the 1800s. He's fought in the Civil War, World War I, World War II, even Vietnam. And he's had lots of near-death experiences. He's seen a lot of people die. Lots of his friends have died twice. He's seen it. And just to have this again, this is finally it. He finally found his purpose. How I said in the beginning that he was looking for a purpose and looking for a reason to live. He found it. He found it with Laura and X-23, and now Laura can be safe now, and it's up to her to live her life. And near the end of the movie, they bury Logan, and he has a cross, near his burial site, which is in a forest, which is right near Canada, which is where Wolverine is from in the comics, obviously. She flips the cross and makes it an X to solidify that he was the last of the X-Men, and that he made a difference, and that was one of the best send-offs to a character that I can ever remember. Just so much good stuff in this movie. And now I'm gonna give you my closing thoughts. This movie was a joy to be in the theaters of. I loved everything about it. The tone of this movie, the way it's shot, the fact that it's like a Western. I love me some damn Westerns. Everything about it was just amazing. The music was great. There was the emotional beats when it needed to hit them. There was the comedic beats here and there whenever it was supposed to be, which was, little moments where there was comedy, but when it was there, it actually hit and it was actually funny. And the violence was great, and it was not used too much where it was annoying and gross. It was used when it needed to be, and I just thought it was so well done. And honestly, this is Dark Knight level. This is great. This was phenomenal. If you have not seen this movie and somehow I spoiled the whole thing for you, please go see this movie. You need to give your money to Logan. It's an R-rated movie, and if you're not old enough, you should still sneak in anyway. But really, yeah, it's so good. It's amazing. It's absolutely breathtaking. It's just great. The ambiance of this film is amazing. The color palette, the way it just looks. It looks great, too. That's the thing. It's just shot so well. And James Mangold did a great job of writing and directing this film. And it was the best way to send off Wolverine. And I'm a bigger Wolverine fan than I ever was coming out of that theater than I was going in. I love Wolverine, but I just grew so much more admiration for Hugh Jackman, the character, everything. It made me fall in love with Wolverine even more. And honestly, this is Dark Knight level stuff. This is on the caliber of a Dark Knight, but for the Marvel Universe, and it's completely different than the Dark Knight, and that's a great thing. It's not trying to be the Dark Knight. It's going on its own different formula, and I wish comic book movies would do that even more. You see, the MCU is great. I love the MCU in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they seem to follow the same formula, and it works. It's like a copy and paste thing, but they need to go different. They need to do a different thing, like how Logan did. And it did a great job. I hate the fact that Fox owns the rights to the X-Men and Wolverine, the Fantastic Four, but honestly, Fox did a great job with Logan. Fox did a fantastic job. And James Mangold, Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, Boyd Holbrook, the list goes on and on and on. Everybody that worked on this film deserves so much praise, and it's just so damn good. It's so good. People need to think about giving this movie an Oscar. I think that it has potential to get an Oscar. In a lot of different categories. Visual effects, acting from Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, Best Supporting Actor, Best Actor, Best Film, because this is one of the best comic book films and one of the best films that I've ever seen personally. And I can't sugarcoat that. And I have lots of films that are not comic book films that I love so dearly. And this one right here just knocked it out of the park. Please go see this, and I thank you for watching my Logan review. It was a long review. This will be posted on a Wednesday, so this would have been filmed on a Tuesday. But thank you so much for watching. It has been a friggin' pleasure. And stay classy, stay frosty. I'll check you later.